do two just for safety. Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Do you ever watch the Diary of the CEO podcast?
No, I have heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
So that's famous for really getting in depth, and a lot of times people do, emotionally respond through
Okay.
crying. This is what we're going to try and replicate today with these questions. So starting off easy, this season you start off a new engineering team, JMH. After two races, what's the relationship been like between Team PB and JMH?
It's been really good. I've been really pleased with how it's gone. There's always a bit of a risk, I guess, both sides on taking on a new client or a new engineering team for us, but Jason and the team's been really good. They're very professional. I get on really well with my engineer Adam, which is important because he's the one on the other end of the radio when we talk to him during the race, and they've not put a foot wrong. So it's been really good, and I'm really pleased. And they have a lot of experience. They've done Asian Le Mans series as well as British GT, etc. So I suppose in one way they should do, but you never know until you try. But I think we work really well as a team, and really happy to have them on board.
Brilliant, yeah. And obviously, like you said about working with people you've recently started working with, but you and Marcus have been driving together for several years now, and he's also your driving coach. So how would you describe your relationship with Marcus Clutton?
I think it's really good. I think from my side, Marcus, we're lucky with Marcus. He's one of the fastest GT drivers in the country, and he certainly holds his own against and probably quicker than some of the factory drivers. So to have him as my co-driver is, I feel quite privileged on that. And it certainly helps our overall our results. But the other great thing about Marcus is there's lots of fast drivers out there that aren't great coaches. It's a different discipline, and he can articulate to me what he wants me to do or why I'm a little bit slower. And it's funny about racing. People go, "Oh, you're slower than a pro driver." It could be a tenth of a second a corner, but if you add that up over 15 corners, that's where the time goes. So it's very small margins, but he'll go to me, actually what I want you to do is I want you to brake half a metre later here, take a little bit of this curb, and he'll articulate such a way that I'll go out and practice and I'll do that, and I'll come back and say, okay, so we can work on the next one. So the way he communicates about what he wants me to do works really well, and that's really important because if you can't trust your driver coach or you can't communicate with them, then you never get the results. So between the coaching and the racing, I think we get really well on.
Right, so Peter, this is the second season now you've had this R8 GT3. So far of 8 races, you've won 7. We won't talk about the one, the one that you didn't win. We won't talk about that. But what makes Team PB in this car such a winning combination?
It's a really good question. I probably don't know the answer so much, but when I hopped in the car originally, it was the first time I'd driven a GT3 car. And a GT3 is quite a lot different from other cars, mainly in the aerodynamics. And the thing with the aerodynamics is you can't really see it. So effectively, you'll go around a corner maybe 20 miles an hour faster than you would on a non-aero car. So really it's about trusting that. And when we got the car, it was quite late before the season. And I think I had the Friday test at Silverstone, and we had a few issues setting it up, and the weather was terrible. So I wasn't all that confident going into it, but as soon as, funny enough, I got into the qualifying and we put it on pole, and then you sort of realise actually you're gelling with the car, so you pretty quickly got your head around what the aerodynamics do for you when you're racing, and then you just apply all the things that you've used before. And before that I had a 991 Cup car, which is quite a mechanical car to drive, brilliant, but there's not many tools to help you drive that car. It had ABS, but no traction control, nothing along those lines, no aerodynamics particularly. So if you could drive that well, then you can drive a GT3 well. And I think that was partly, so it's all the experience building up to that point when you hopped in the car, and now it's just, it's my office, it's just an extension of me when I drive it. Yeah. So, I think they're a brilliant car anyway, but it certainly gels with me.
That's brilliant. Yeah, like you said, a 991 Cup car. I'm a bit of a 911 fan myself. I'm not not going to hide away from that, even though you guys are Audi team now. But with the Audi, I thought, look, let's test it out. So I loaded up the sim with the Audi, and that car, just genuinely, it's on rails around Maggots Beck. It's like the 2014 Mercedes F1 car, because that was fast, but it wasn't fast. Because if you look at like the W11, it would just be going through flat out. But it's just so incredibly stuck to the ground, that car. I actually had to ask Gertie if it was a four-wheel drive car or not, because I was like, it can't be Quattro this, right? Because it's just so stuck to the ground. But yeah, no, genuinely, that car is very fast. Obviously, like you said, simulators aren't entirely realistic, but
to give you an idea of what's happening here, for sure.
From what I've seen, that car is scary fast, and I have seen exactly the reason why we've won 7 out of 8 races so far. And yeah, speaking of the Audi even more now, what's your favourite features of the Audi?
Favourite features of it? The V10 engine sounds brilliant. So when it's wailing down in Silverstone, it's audio side of it is a nice thing to listen to. A bit left field one, air conditioning. Car's got air conditioning, and that sounds a bit. Oh, well, it's air conditioning. You've got to remember these cars get pretty hot, and we're sitting in a 3-layer fire suit with you have another layer underneath for your underwear, and you wear helmet and balaclava. It's pretty warm, and easy to get temperatures get to 50 degrees inside. And you think running a marathon, we're running 2 hours or an hour for our stint with all that gear and 50 degrees, it's pretty physically doing. So the fact that this car's got air conditioning just helps us a little bit. We don't always use it, but on a warm day that just gives you a little bit of driver comfort, which helps with the overall performance. That's why they have it there. And the third thing I like about it, I guess back to the aerodynamics. It's pretty cool. Somewhere like the Craner curves at Donington, going flat through that is pretty mega. So that would be the 3 things.
But yeah, like with adjustable aero on the car, what sort of like adjustability do you have? Obviously on the front, you probably have the splitter you can adjust, and the rear wing. What else could you adjust on the car?
Yeah, broadly we set, so the front and the rear wing can be adjusted, but we tend to leave them the same once we set. The Audi has got a window that it likes operating in, which works for most tracks, to be fair. Then your main adjustability is your ride height. We're limited by regulation about how low we can go, but in any aero car, the lower to the ground is better. So that would be another adjustment area. And then it's the rake of the car. So how low the front is versus how low the rear is. Those are your main things from an aero point of view for adjustment. And we have, last year we were chasing back and forth to find the optimal setup pretty much. But I think in the end we've got to a point where we pretty much leave it at those settings now that we've got for it. So we don't have to play too much around the adjustability. I think the only time you really play it too much is when it's wet, but then that's more of a roll bar setting or a sprint setting rather than an aero.
Oh, brilliant.